Hello everyone, Ben here, and welcome back to my series on the 2020 on some 2020 hypothetical matchups, which is kind of the prelude to the 2020 election. Okay. Um, Today we're going to be talking about a hypothetical between Trump and Elizabeth Warren. Okay. And this is kind of where I think the map would start off. And, whoops, actually I missed some. Sorry, this is where the map would start off. And I'm going to kind of talk about why I think Democrats' chances drop off significantly after Sherrod Brown. Okay? Because Sherrod Brown is the right Democrat from the right state. Somewhat progressive, but definitely a bit of, I don't want to say a populist, but, he's kind of like a modern Democrat with a few progressive positions. Or when I say progressive, I mean progressive Democrat. Um, and, you know, the others have some major flaw about them that I think could significantly hurt their chances, okay? And this isn't to say, Trump doesn't have issues. He certainly does. But the fact that he's the incumbent kind of negates a lot of that. Anyway, so Elizabeth Warren, not quite as far out as Bernie Sanders, but, definitely in that mold of Democrat. But here's where it kind of starts turning sour for her. Elderly. Not that there's anything wrong with that, okay? But, she doesn't offer youth to counter Trump's age. She's about the same age as Trump, so it's like we don't really have an ability to bring some youth and vigor into the position. And, she's also from the completely wrong state. She's from Massachusetts, right? And this is where it starts. This is where I think it will really hurt Elizabeth Warren, is because she's from Massachusetts and she's, at least to Americans, on the far left. And that's just not a good combination. And I'll get to this because there's actually the same problem if you were to run somebody from the Seattle area, or from California, like the Bay Area, or some of these cities like San Diego. There are so there would be a lot of issues if you ran somebody from California, Washington, or the Northeast as a Democrat who is this far to the left. And it's the same problem you would have if the Republicans decided to run, an ultra conservative from Wyoming or Idaho or Kansas. It's the idea that people in, the non-urbanized, non-progressive America are going to see it as an invasion. They're going to see it as someone coming in and telling them how to live their lives. Especially if the Republicans can successfully play on it. Why do you think the South Park meme, "they took our jobs," is so popular? Is because there is a reasonable portion of America that sometimes acts like that. Whether or not it's wrong or right, whether or not their conclusion is wrong or right, doesn't really matter. It's the fact that they exist and they voice their opinions in the voting booth. that matters. And they're going to see another Northeast liberal trying to come in there and change their institutions, change their way of life, change everything about them, and turn it into wherever the liberal came from, and ruin any semblance of what they once knew. Whether or not that's a good thing doesn't matter to them. People just hate change in general. You know, and as I said, not too long ago, it's the same problem if you ran an ultra conservative from Wyoming or Kansas or Idaho or Utah, and you tried to play in, some of the more centrist states, you'd put those people off because, they'd be trying to change things that and go into a way that's, we as a society have progressed beyond. So, that's where I think Elizabeth Warren's biggest problem is. If she can run a campaign of we're not going to change your way of life, we just want to attempt a few new ideas, and if they don't work, well, you know what to do. If they don't work, you can, change the government legally by voting. If she went that, I think she'd have a chance, but that's not what that's never been the vibe I've gotten off of Elizabeth Warren, or Bernie Sanders or whatever. They have the aloofness to say, I'm right, you're wrong. And you need a little bit of that in politics, but sometimes you have to play that off and say, if I'm wrong, you can vote me out, but, what's wrong with giving it a chance? So you need to toe that line, and I just don't see that with Elizabeth Warren. And that's why I don't think the Democrats are going to be able to flip, at least if they were to run Warren. I think they'd actually lose votes in some states, to the point where, Iowa, I think, would actually be solid Republican. You might even flip Maine because you'd be able to turn off the rural vote that much. New Hampshire, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and say New Hampshire would go to Warren. I think Nevada would go to Trump in this case, though it would be close. Colorado is very mixed between Denver and the rest of the state. New Mexico is just basically, it's a battleground state that occasionally votes Republican, but other than that, it's essentially just a solid blue state. I think that would give a chance of Minnesota flipping, though Minnesota is a very strange state, so I'll give the Democrats a benefit of the doubt in this case. I would say Wisconsin and Pennsylvania would stay in the Trump call, and Michigan would flip back. But not by much, and I think Trump would actually pick up votes in Virginia. So the votes Trump gained negate the fact that he lost Michigan. But I just don't think Warren is the right candidate at this time. Maybe 20 years in the future, a candidate with her positions would be a good choice. But I think she's just too far to the left and from the wrong state to be that far to the left. If it were from Michigan, that'd be a totally different story. If she were from Wisconsin, totally different story. Ohio, different story. Virginia, different story. Pennsylvania, different story. It would be a different story if she were from somewhere other than the Northeast in New England. Problem is, she's from New England, and she is that far to the left. Anyway, guys, this is my conclusion of what a Trump versus Warren election would look like. And that's just because of how I imagine rural America pictures Elizabeth Warren. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and I guess next time I will try to do the election night thing for Tim Kaine. Because he's the next candidate on the list. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.